This is a tutorial on how to calculate volume in functional skills questions. Now, we have done other videos that cover perimeter and area, and volume is pretty much the next step on from area when you're looking at 3D shapes rather than 2D. So I would recommend you watch those first, and this will be a lot clearer after that. But the first question, as an example, we're going to look at is how to work out the volume of a cube. I'm just going to draw that on here freehand, so apologies, it might not look perfect, but it should give you the idea of a cube shape. Okay, so we've got our cube. So if I briefly go back to area, all you would need is the length and the width of this front square face. So I'm going to have 5 meters each side. So if you remember from area, and as say watching that other video, that would just be length times width, and that would work out all this space on that front face of the square. However, because we're looking at volume for this one, and it's a 3D shape that's needed when you're working out volume, that actually works out the space in the whole of that cube, not just one front face. So just everything inside this box is what you're trying to actually work out. So what you need in order to do that is another dimension, and that is going to be this one. This can either be referred to as the depth, the thickness, or even sometimes the height, depending on which way around the shape is. But you've got that vital third dimension. We're going to say that's 5 as well, because it's a perfect cuboid, this. So all you would do is times length by width, which, as I say, is exactly what you do for area, and then you add that final one on. You also times, we'll call it the depth in this instance. So you just literally times in the 3 numbers together. So what we're going to have is 5 times 5 times 5. I'm going to bring that calculator up for this, as you're always allowed to use it in the exam. So 5 times 5. I would recommend equaling that first before you times the next one, just so it doesn't get too messy on your calculator. So that equals 25 times another 5. So that gives you 125 as your answer. Now we've been working in meters, so obviously the unit is going to be meters. And also, if you remember back to when you were looking at area, it always had to be squared. With volume, it's actually cubed, which is a 3 instead of a 2. So think of it like it's a cuboid, it's cubed. This time it's going to be a 3. You times in 3 sides together rather than times in 2 sides together when you're doing area. So that's the first example. As I say, that's your final answer, 125 meters cubed. We'll do one more. For this one, we'll change it to a more rectangular 3D shape. So change that to black. Again, excuse the drawing. Okay, so we've got a rectangular 3D shape this time. Again, to work out the volume, we're going to need to know 3 of the sides. This time, we're going to have the height or the width as we'll go for 8 meters. We'll have the length as 15 meters. And we'll have the depth or the thickness as 4 meters. So those are our 3 sides, and just like before, all we need to do is times those 3 together to find out the volume. So we're going to have 8 times 15 times 4, and just as before, I would do 2 of them together first, work out your answer, and then times the last one out. So if I bring the calculator up for that again, so I'll start with 8 times 15, which gives you 120, and then times that by the 4, so that's 480. Again, the units we've been using were meters, so that stays as meters, and remember, volume is always going to be cubed with a 3 at the top. And once again, that's your answer. That's all there is to volume. So think of it as length times width times height or depth, and that'll be how you work it out. And that's the end of this tutorial.